You know that jittery, anxious feeling after too much coffee? What if I told you there's a way to get all the benefits of caffeine without the downsides? Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of coffee microdosing, how taking tiny amounts of caffeine throughout the day could revolutionize your focus and productivity. And with us is our resident expert on cognitive enhancement. Thanks for having me. You know, this is such a timely topic because we're seeing a real shift in how people approach caffeine consumption.
So what exactly is coffee microdosing? Break it down for us.
Well, instead of having that huge morning cup of coffee with 95 milligrams of caffeine, microdosing involves taking much smaller amounts, typically between 5 to 20 milligrams, spread throughout the day.
That's fascinating. And this is becoming more popular, right?
Absolutely. According to recent data, about 62% of Americans drink coffee daily, and many are now exploring this more strategic approach to caffeine consumption.
But why would someone want to switch from their regular coffee routine to microdosing?
Well, research shows that smaller doses can actually be more effective. A fascinating study found that low doses of caffeine, around 3 milligrams per kilogram of body weight, improved cognitive performance more than higher doses.
Wait, really? Lower doses work better?
Yes, and it makes sense when you understand how caffeine works in the brain. It primarily blocks adenosine receptors, which are responsible for making us feel sleepy.
Go on.
With microdosing, you're maintaining a steady level of alertness without overwhelming these receptors, which is what causes those unpleasant jitters and anxiety with larger doses.
You know what's interesting? I've noticed coffee shops are starting to offer smaller serving sizes. Is this part of the trend?
That's a great observation. The whole culture around coffee consumption is shifting from the bigger is better mentality to a more mindful approach.
Let's talk about the science. What does research tell us about the benefits?
Recent studies have shown that even very small amounts of caffeine can significantly affect cognitive performance. We're talking improved reaction time, better working memory, and enhanced focus.
And this is without the typical caffeine downsides?
Exactly. A study published in Psychopharmacology found that doses as low as 12.5 milligrams could improve cognitive performance without the negative effects associated with higher doses.
That's really not much caffeine at all.
No, it's about 1/8 of a regular cup of coffee. But here's what's really interesting. They found these effects were actually more pronounced in regular caffeine consumers.
So people who already drink coffee might benefit more from microdosing?
That's what the research suggests. And there's another fascinating aspect. It's not just about the caffeine itself.
What do you mean?
Recent brain scan studies have shown that coffee has effects beyond just caffeine. The smell and taste of coffee actually increase activity in parts of the brain involved in attention and focus.
So there's something special about coffee specifically?
Yes, and this might explain why some people swear by their morning coffee ritual, even when decaf is involved.
Let's talk about the practical side. How would someone actually start microdosing coffee?
The key is to start small and be consistent. Most experts recommend beginning with about 20-30 milligrams of caffeine, roughly a quarter cup of coffee, spaced out every few hours.
And timing matters, right?
Absolutely. Research shows caffeine takes about 15-45 minutes to kick in, so you want to plan your doses around your peak performance needs.
Are there any risks people should be aware of?
Well, even with microdosing, you need to be mindful of your total daily caffeine intake. And some recent studies have shown that caffeine can temporarily reduce gray matter in the brain.
Wait, reduce gray matter? That sounds concerning.
It does sound alarming, but the effect appears to be temporary. The brain shows remarkable plasticity in response to caffeine.
So it's not necessarily a bad thing?
No, and in fact, some research suggests caffeine might have neuroprotective effects, potentially helping to slow cognitive decline in conditions like Alzheimer's.
That's really interesting. What about tolerance? Does microdosing help with that?
Yes, that's actually one of the main benefits. By keeping doses low and consistent, you're less likely to develop the tolerance that comes with regular high-dose caffeine consumption.
And what about the afternoon crash? Does that still happen with microdosing?
That's another advantage. Because you're maintaining steady levels rather than having big spikes, you're much less likely to experience that afternoon energy crash.
You mentioned earlier about the ritual of coffee drinking. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. A recent study in Portugal found that just the smell and taste of coffee increased activity in parts of the brain related to attention and focus, even before the caffeine had time to take effect.
So there's really something to that morning coffee ritual beyond just the caffeine.
Exactly. It's a combination of the physical effects of caffeine and these learned associations our brains have developed.
Are there different ways to microdose caffeine besides coffee?
Yes, research has looked at various sources: green tea, matcha, caffeine pills, even energy gummies. A study found that all sources of caffeine can improve alertness and decrease tiredness.
But coffee might have some unique benefits.
Right. That same study found that coffee specifically was associated with improved overall mood, which wasn't seen with other caffeine sources.
Let's talk about who shouldn't try microdosing.
Well, anyone with heart conditions, anxiety disorders, or sleep issues should consult their doctor first. And it's not recommended for teenagers. There's growing concern about young people using caffeine products.
Speaking of teenagers, I've heard about this new trend with caffeine pouches.
Yes, and that's actually quite concerning. These pouches deliver caffeine directly through the gums, which can lead to much faster absorption and potentially dangerous effects.
So stick to traditional methods?
Definitely. Coffee, tea, or other well-studied sources are the safest options for microdosing.
What about combining caffeine microdosing with other supplements?
Some research has looked at combining caffeine with L-theanine, which is naturally found in green tea. This combination seems to enhance focus while reducing jitters.
Interesting. Any other combinations that work well?
The research is still emerging, but some studies suggest adaptogens might complement caffeine's effects. However, it's important to keep things simple when starting out.
Let's wrap this up. What's the main takeaway for our listeners?
The key message is that when it comes to caffeine, less might actually be more. Small, strategic doses can provide better cognitive benefits than the traditional large morning coffee.
And it's really about finding what works for you, right?
Exactly. Everyone metabolizes caffeine differently, so start small, pay attention to how your body responds, and adjust accordingly.